I talked with 5 people and asked their opinions about the tool and summarized the main questions. I need to understand the specific use cases for this. That would be an example of question, right? And okay, let's bring them up and potentially we'll create a longer list. So I want to lose weight, right? That's objective, and then it's either a long cycle of attempts, ways of diets, discussions, violations of diets, temptations, dropouts from the plan, and abandonment of the objective. And the new journey is basically training the stimulus response pairs, identifying the gaps of the training if the new responses do not form, then really zooming in into the parts that do not form and into the reasons why some response is not triggered at the right moment, and then training it further and further. That means I need to force and pretend my feelings. Answer is no. The response side of the card is not something to pretend. It is to answer the question, what do I want my response to be? And that's exactly what we want to be triggered. Even if at some specific situation the person is not performing the response he actually wants to perform automatically, at least the person should be fully aware of the response the person wants. Don't we need to explore the why behind my current reactions before we formulate a new reaction? Answer is it's not necessary, right? Our ultimate goal is to update the reaction, and that is to weaken the old reaction and to strengthen the new reaction. By training the cards, we simultaneously strengthen the new reaction and weaken old. And the common mistake is to focus on exploring the current reaction, which just results in fixation on this old reaction and therefore strengthening and centralizing the old reaction. Doesn't that look very dry and more like mathematical formula? That's your current reaction to the training, right? And the same methodology can trigger very different reaction. And the question to you is, what reaction do you want it to be? Because the same cards, the same methodology can trigger the reaction. Wow, this is really most elegant, most harmonious tool I have ever seen. I have an additional idea for the following feature. Let me explain. And okay, why don't we have this feature? Why don't we have that feature? That's again your current reaction to the tool. And is this the kind of reaction you really want to have? And do you really want to be bothered with the features that you're missing? Or what you potentially would prefer is the reaction, which is okay, I really don't care about any other feature. I don't need any other feature. This is perfect in its simplicity. Let me just use the tool and focus on nothing else except of designing the reactions and training them. It's pure and essential. Don't we need 2 cards, one for alcohol and one for the sugar? Like very specific example, and actually that's a great question. The general rule is that we want the stimulus to be pure, so that reaction is triggered exactly when we want it to be triggered. And potentially the stimulus is, cake, alcohol, cigarettes, so that the reaction is similar to all, and mind these 3 categories. They actually they are forming one category that triggers the same kind of associations and reactions. Isn't it too complex? Yes, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's for sure. mm, it does take some intellectual capacity and power to define the cards. Would it be better if the response is a picture, not text? We want the automatic response to be specific on multiple dimensions. And the current assumption is that if it's just a picture, it will not capture all these layers, and therefore the training of the automatic recall will not be complete. And as we said earlier, what we really want is we want to have the response to be very well defined and very specific, holistically defined, and be specific on all dimensions. People are much more different than you think, and there are different doors to get to a person, and you need to connect to a person through what the person believes. Absolutely agree. Therefore, users should customize the cards, and there's no standard cards to learn. And the tool is standardized only in the aspects that are common for all. So, for example, learning mechanism and operant conditioning. So these elements of the theory are common. There are common principles that are behind human functioning, which are leveraged in this tool, and the particularities of individuals. And this is something to account for when people formulate and define their own cards.